Thank you for staying on the AM show. It's now time to talk about greening Ghana. And over the years, our forest and land space have been degraded. Now, with the effect of climate change in mind, government is seeking to mitigate the consequence of degrading forests. The Green Ghana Initiative, according to the Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abujinapo, will create a collective action towards restoring degraded landscapes in the country, mitigating climate change, and inculcating in the youth the values of planting and nurturing trees and the associated benefits. Today, the project, or let me say the second phase of the project continues. I would have conversations around that and bring you that live event. We know that it started last year. Some trees were planted. Well, to join me have this conversation on the importance of this initiative is Yasmin Helwani. She is CEO of Green Butterfly, and Dr. Dixon Adomako-Kisi is MP for Anyaso Tum, and he's on the Environment Committee of Parliament. We've also got Norbert Agbetriku. He is with Save River Dye. Thank you all for joining the program. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Let me start with you, Yasmin, and I'm sure personally you've done a lot with regards to works on green in Ghana. Tell me what your experience has been and the challenges as well.
Thank you for having me. Good morning to everybody, and best wishes for today, Green Ghana Day. Today, Green Ghana Day is not the same Green Ghana Day as most of the ones that I have been involved in, mainly because of the speed at which we are losing our green spaces in Accra and the need for us to come out and speak about it. My experience in the past, I've had both positive and challenging experiences. I don't like to see anything as negative, but more like a learning process. So in the past, we have done a lot of tree planting and projects to assist with Green Ghana. And even last year, I was part of the planting exercise that happened at the Ramsar site with all the ambassadors and dignitaries. And it was a very big occasion hosted by the Forestry Commission. My observation is that we need to follow through with what we do. Okay, now when we go places to plant trees, it's not just to put the tree in the ground and walk away. It's to also have people who are going to be able to take care, visit those trees and nurture them to be able to stay, planted and stay long. So one of my challenges, or one of the challenges I have faced is, excuse me, there's a plane passing by, is the follow-through, is the aftercare, and, the genuine interest in the planting of trees. So I'm just hoping that today's activities will help us to be more informed and also bring us together in unity as we speak out about protecting our green spaces.
And talking about bringing us together in unity, I think it's worth mentioning that we are having leaders, traditional leaders, we are having members of the clergy, we are having a former president who doesn't belong to the governing party take part in this process. Clearly, this is beyond party politics and it's about saving our greenery. It's interesting you mentioned the Ramsar site because I was just about to ask you how you feel as an advocate for greening the country when you hear stories that have to do with countering our efforts at greening the country. So here we are as a people. We've determined that this is what we want to do. We're going to plant 5 million trees, and we started the process. It's a 5-year project. This is the 2nd year. But while we are doing it, we appear to not be paying too much attention to the existing trees. And so it's almost as if we are doing something which is counterproductive. How do you feel about that?
Certainly. I feel that what we are doing is definitely counterproductive. I mean, you can't compare, a number of people going out to plant trees to the declassification of like an entire forest zone, an entire forest reserve. We are literally canceling out what we've been doing to protect the environment. When it comes to the Ramsar sites, first of all, my observation last year is that we planted trees that were not the trees that we should have planted in that place. Now, the site itself is an ecological asset. And over the years, I grew up watching the birds around that lagoon. If you know the Labadi stretch from Osu all the way up to the Tema, that beach road. There are these swamps located along that road, especially the Sakumono area where the birds come in to, graze and eat before they actually fly across the Atlantic Ocean. These birds don't eat coconuts, okay? But we were out there planting coconut trees. So one of the things that I would like to say is we need to do our research. We don't need to just jump up at any moment and say, oh, we need to plant trees and go and start. No, we need to know what exactly we are doing for our efforts to be productive. So again, we have to just do our research, we have to do our groundwork, and we have to protect, like you said, the existing spaces. Now, Achimota Forest is of concern. As of this morning, we are speaking about the Achimota Forest. That's our main concern this morning. Because Achimota Forest, I personally grew up next to the Achimota Forest. I played in the Achimota Forest as a child with my brothers. I know that is probably my earliest encounter with nature. That is where I started as a naturalist, as somebody who appreciated nature, because I moved out of Osu to Jowulu. And moving there was nothing much there. The development at that time, there was nothing much. So I got to experience Achimota Forest. And today we are here to say that we do not want Achimota Forest to be declassified. We want the president to rescind his executive instrument and to return the Achimota Forest to its status as a forest reserve. Please, 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 if you want to do an eco park, the Efwa Sutherland Children's Park is waiting for you. We have been waiting. I also went to Richard School, and I've seen Efwa Sutherland Park remain and deteriorate. I've been playing in the Efwa Sutherland Park also. So if they want to do an eco park, they should go to Efwa Sutherland. Our children will be happy to have an eco park there.
Really a passionate appeal there by Yasmin. Well, let me bring in Dr. Dixon Adomako-Kisi. He's MP for Anyaswotum and former member of the Environment Committee of Parliament. But before I bring him in, just a quick correction. So when the project was launched last year, there was a target of 5 to 7 million trees, and we're told that we exceeded that. So for this year, 2022, we are hoping to plant at least 20 million trees. Very ambitious, isn't it, Doc?
It is. And let me start off by commending Joy News for bringing this to all of us, our attention. I think the media has a huge role in terms of making people aware of the need to plant a tree. So I'll commend Joy News for that, and more importantly, yourself. Now, as I've listened, there are two things I want to do today. I want to talk to the average person in Ghana and encourage them to do their very best to at least plant one and nurture one. And that is the person I want to talk to today, that if you're out there and you're listening to Joy News, regardless of the challenges in terms of the global climate changes, I'll beg of you that, when the last tree dies, we are dead. The trees naturally are the, let me say, lungs for Earth, Mother Earth. It breathes in and brings out good air for us. We do the reverse. We take in the oxygen and we bring out carbon dioxide. So that relationship between man and tree is very important. So I'm here to plead with the average Indian we are very best to at least plant and nurture one tree today. Now, regardless of the location, I'm even for those who plant in front of their houses or in their houses. And I think in as much as government is pushing for various agents, I think that if it's in your house, you're more likely to nurture. If it's by your house, you're more likely to nurture. And that completes the cycle for us. Now, the other key thing, and hear me out, the minister is doing a marvelous job. I think that it's commendable in the sense that he sustained the movement for planting trees. And I must also commend him on that regard. And on that note, this is my thought. You know, as the good book says, you don't put good things under the table. I mean, if it's good, you put it up for everybody to see. And that is my thoughts about the Achimota Forest. As it stands, personally, I find it very difficult to go through the Achimota Forest because there's litter, because people defecate there, because of safety. And I think that if we want to expose Achimota Forest to a lot more people in Ghana, and for that matter, the outside world, then an approach of remodeling the place, keeping the integrity of the environment, and making it more safe and secure for students to go through and see the natural beauty, for average Ghanaians to go through and see the natural beauty. I think that that is commendable. And mind you, it's going to be done with one key thing in mind: preserving nature. And we can't go wrong doing it in a fashion that all of us at any point in time can go through the park, see the beauty of Achimota Forest. What good is it to hide it? What good is it if we cannot have tour of the forest, which is structured, well organized, well funded for a lot of university students and students in primary to come and see. The argument I want to make, as it stands, National Theatre is beautiful. As it stands, International Conference Center, beautiful. As it stands, Kakum Park. What arguments did we make when we were making Kakum Park? A lot of people were against it, but as it stands now, we enjoy Kakum Park when we go because at least there's been some additional man-made canopies, man-made trails for us to appreciate Kakum Park. And on that note, I really think that let's be mute on some of the noise and let's look at it from the glass half full standpoint, not glass half empty standpoint.
All right, Doc. So you did mention and you admit that there are people who are destroying the forest by littering, people are defecating, and you believe that the way to solve that problem is to do something with the forest. Even though you didn't explicitly say it, I'm sure you mean that we could go ahead with plans to, develop the place, allow for tourism and all that. But Doc, isn't it possible to protect the sanctity of the forest without necessarily allowing for human activities in there?
I think that, as she rightly said, her exposure to the forest made her more naturalistic or a naturalist. And I think that we owe it to future generations for people to have access to Achimota Forest and be able to connect with nature.
No, are you referring to what Yasmin said when you said her exposure?
Yes,
okay.
Her exposure to Achimota Forest has made her what she is today, and she's very passionate about the environment. And likewise, many anthropologists will be created out of this initiative. And when I say anthropology, as you largely know, is huge and a huge deal in other parts of the world. Anthropology is a return to our past, is a return to nature, to understand and to guide us for the future. And I really think that the beauty of Achimota Forest should not be hidden. It should be captured, well televised, made readily available for not just 10 people who go to Achimota Forest to pray, or 10 people who go there to do nefros activities. But I think that the state owes it to all of us. I've been to many parks in the world. Central Park is one example in New York, and it is beautiful. The vegetation, the pathways, the man-made waterways, I mean, it's beautiful, serene. And if you have a bad day and you go to Central Park, you'll be amazed. And nature has a way of working on our psyche. Nature, green is good for the eye, green is good for the heart, And I would stand by my word any day that let's develop it with the mindset of keeping the integrity of the forest intact, and more importantly, making it safe and secure for average Ghanaians to enter the park without fear. As it stands now, I have to be honest, entering a tomato forest, not knowing what I'll face, be it somebody trying to snatch my phone, be it somebody trying to threaten my life, I don't know. As it stands, it is difficult. But I think that if it is well developed, we have a tour, we have a guard handling the place 24/7, lit up so that even around 6 p.m. it's accessible for people to observe nature that late. My goodness. And you know one key thing, those who like to run, those who like to exercise by walking, it will be very good for their heart, and it will be a nice place for all of us. Instead of going to the gym and being cooked up in a small place, Achimota Forest will be lovely for our elderly people who want to just go for a walk on a park and exercise their lungs and exercise it for their hearts. So I'm all for all this development, keeping in mind, like I said, maintaining the integrity of the forest with minimal interference.
All right, Doc. Let me bring in a gentleman who has also been working a lot when it comes to the push for better attitude towards greening Ghana. Norbert Abetriku is with Save River Dai. Thank you so much for joining the program. And your organization has nursed some seedlings to help in the Green Ghana Day. Tell us how that is going. Are people picking up the seedlings? Do you get the impression that people are excited about this as much as you are?
Everything is going on here well. And we are also preparing for the Green Ghana. We have nursed about 1 million seedlings here, and we are ready, very much ready to set off to site to start planting. The MC is on its way coming, and everything is set to go for the Green Day.
And besides you yourself, the minister over the past few days has been encouraging people to pick up seedlings from Forestry Commission district offices and other vantage points across the country. Are people coming to you for seedlings? Is there excitement about this project?
This section, all in taking seedlings, individual corporate bodies, schools, churches, they are all rushing in, taking seedlings from us. I'm so happy to be part of this Green Ghana.
All right, I'll come back to you. Let me go to Yasmin. Yasmin, you heard what Dr. Adomakun Kisi said. He thinks that, well, you benefited from the forest, you had access to it, that's why you're who you are today. So let's create something nice without damaging or affecting the integrity of the forest, and also give other people the opportunity, instead of leaving it to people to come and damage and do whatever they want to do with it. Do you buy into his idea? Has he been able to win you over to the other side?
No, actually, as a matter of fact, I'm actually surprised by this idea that we can actually have a forest reserve and still go in there and develop it for tourism. The Achimota Forest is not a tourist location. It is a forest reserve. Now, if you do your homework, you realize that forest reserves are meant to be kept intact. Okay, now for people to visit the forest reserve, there's no problem at all. All we need to do is protect the space. You don't have to go and put concrete down to protect a forest. You don't have to go and put buildings there to protect and to clean up the forest. All you need is your security personnel. You need some policemen, you need some guards, you need to hire forest rangers. I lived in Canada for 8 years. We had so many reserves. They are protected by rangers. You go in there, you can go and jog, you can jog by the river, you can enjoy nature at its, the way nature is. You don't have to go in there and go and build and put up businesses in a forest reserve. You can, go and check in even the UK, and he mentioned New York, where who has declassified in those areas, who has taken a reserve that has been reserved for so many years and suddenly declassified it and say it is no longer a reserve and open for tourist development. I don't think that is it. Now, let's go to green spaces. Are you telling me that that whole area, we have Mofra Park. Mofra Park is open for business at Abelengbe. You can go there, you can go in, you can jog. We have a park inside Jowlu, South Jowlu. You can go there, go and play football, you can move around or whatever. Achimota Forest became the way it is because it has been neglected and left to run down for so many years. There should be people in there protecting the forest. Our lawmakers, our policemen should be in there protecting the forest. So if you tell me that developing a forest reserve is the way forward, then I'm sorry, because these are the lands of Accra. Now, let me just take a quick minute to give you the history. Myself, my mother is a Ga from Gamashi. Now, what I want to speak now is about the people of Gamashi. That area, Jowu, okay, Jowu means deep valley. At the time the Gans came in and settled in Accra, that area was seen as a receptacle, a valley that is receptive to green, that grows. You see, when you have a valley, the rainwater collects, and that way there's a lot of vegetation, a lot of trees survive. So that was the greenest belt that we had in this whole area. And so the elders said that we should not inhabit the area. In fact, in the beginning, we were not supposed to even go and build there. And you will testify, you will be my witness, that the place is now prone to flooding. Jowulu, Roman Ridge, South Jowulu, if you live there and it rains, you are going to be flooded, okay? Because that is the way the place is built. So originally, our elders gave this space to the government of Ghana for protection, to maintain it as a natural forest reserve. I myself, living in Jowulu as a child, maybe we were not even meant to go that close. But you see that over the years, encroachment has slowly, taken over the space. The last thing we have left in that area for eco preservation is that forest reserve. Let us protect it. We can continue to, present it as a tourist attraction without all the declassification and without all that development talk.
Yasmin, really, really passionate CEO of Green Butterfly. So someone may be sitting at home saying, oh, all this climate change thing, all this blah, blah, blah is a hoax. In fact, we even have people, not even here in the West, who think that this whole climate change agenda is just thrown in to put fear into people's hearts and minds. What would your response to such a person be? Someone who says, oh, nature will find a way to take care of itself. Let's just go about what we go about.
Yes, of course. Nature will definitely find a way to take care of itself. If you want to know what is going to happen, if you continue to ignore the warnings about climate change and about deforestation, just take a trip to northern Ghana. Just take a trip towards the Sahara. It is moving in. The desert is closing in on us. Deforestation is real. And what happens is that this planet takes care of herself. We are not coming here to destroy her. She will destroy us first. You understand? So if you are going to wait for the entire forest cover to be removed, we are going to end up with hotter climate. Already over the past few years, I have a friend who has been checking the temperature since 1978. And he has confirmed that the temperatures throughout Accra and even now Ebri and Eastern region and all these surrounding areas has warmed up tremendously, at least 8-degree difference in the past 20 years. So what is going to happen is it might take some people by surprise, and it may not take some of us by surprise, because what is happening is that the more we cut the trees, the desert is moving closer. We're going to get hotter. It will be more difficult to plant crops. Now, when you plant the crops, the sun will burn them. You can ask the farmers who are already experiencing this heavy sun issue, high UV. If they plant the crops, they have to keep watering and keep at it. Otherwise, the crops will die before they are even a month old. So these are the things that we are facing now. And if we do not Wake up, okay? Wake up. And when I say wake up to yourself. Wake up to your inner self. And if you wake up to your inner self, you will understand that nature is part of you, and you are also part of nature. So let us preserve this beautiful vegetation we have as sub-Saharan Africa. We are blessed with everything, all resources. Let us protect our green spaces. Please, let's protect our green spaces.
Dr. Dixon Adumaku-Kisi, you are in Parliament, and she made mention of a few places like Ibri, and it brings to mind a concern that has been raised. So in some parts of the world, yes, you're allowed to develop certain areas, but other places are earmarked for no development at all. You're allowed to keep the place green, also because of the importance for us as humans. Look at what's happening in Ibri, Abokobi, and all these areas. Would you want us to push for a law or something of the sort that says these places are no-go areas in these particular communities? Let's have every community having a certain size or tract of land, just having greenery. Is it something we could consider?
Well, that is up for consideration. And let me just plea with my other guest that, I mean, I would hate to walk through Achimota Forest and not have a place to, urinate, or not have a place to move bough. And that is key to keeping the place's integrity intact. And I really think that, I may be considered a progressive environmentalist more so than a non-pragmatic one. And I say that because to sustain the work around Achimota Forest, this is the best reasonable path for us.
But Doc, before you proceed, hello Doc, sorry to interject, but before you proceed to answer my question proper, there are other forest reserves in this country. I'm just a simple Google check. We have the Bointano Forest Reserve. There's the Asu Bima Forest Reserve. If we want to let people get, acquainted with nature, can't we explore these other places? Talk about Kakum National Park and all these other places without necessarily going into the Achimota Forest. Can't we say as a people that, okay, you know what? We've already interfered with some forests and parks and all that. For Achimota Forest, let's declare it a no-go zone. Can't we consider that? Must we necessarily go in there to protect it, so to speak?
No, I think that in the interim, let's look at what people are doing to the forest. People go there to pray, they litter with packs of water and bottles of water. Sorry, Doc. I'd love to hear you, but unfortunately, we have to cross over to the Ifwa Sutherland Children's Park, where the event is happening. The Lands Minister is speaking. If you can just hold on for me while we all listen in, and I'll come back to you to take your concluding comments if we have time.
Today is Green Ghana Day, and I want to thank you sincerely, Mr. President, for your extraordinary leadership and your continued support to the efforts of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and above all, for introducing this bold and ambitious initiative to build a more sustainable and greener future for our country. Distinguished guests, the importance of trees to our survival and the survival of the planet cannot be overemphasized. It is for this reason that Goal 15 of the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, which the President of the Republic has the privilege to co-chair its eminent group of advocates, and joins us to, quote, protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, and halt and reverse land degradation, and halt biodiversity loss, end quote. Mr. President, in our bid to discharge our duty of managing the forest and wildlife resources of our country, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and its agencies have adopted a two-pronged approach. The first approach is to protect our existing forest and wildlife resources by halting deforestation. Accordingly, we have suspended all recognizance prospecting, and/or exploration activities in forest reserves, except in exceptional circumstances. We have placed an outright ban on the harvesting, salvaging, trading, exporting, and importing of rosewood, and effective 2nd July 2021, we ceased the issuance of the Convention on International Trade and Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, CITES permit, which is required to legally trade in rosewood on the international market, where the cartels involved in this business ply their trade. The Forestry Commission has established a rapid response team which is working with other security agencies to ensure strict compliance with these bans and to clamp down on all illegal logging activities. The Commission has also introduced a solar-powered electronic wood tracking system which enables it to track wood from the forest till its final disposal, as well as a digital property mark and registration system which allows loggers to register and renew their property marks from the comfort of their homes. We are also undertaking policy and legislative reforms to strengthen forest law enforcement. At the last sitting of Parliament, we laid before the House a wildlife bill to revise and consolidate the laws relating to wildlife and protected areas to bring them in conformity with existing policies in the sector. We have signed a voluntary partnership agreement with the European Union, and we are implementing the Forest Law Enforcement Governance and Trade FLEG Action Plan to ensure that timber on the domestic market are sourced, processed, and traded legally. Already, Mr. President, your Cabinet on 31st March this year granted approval for the conversion of 156 timber concessions and permits into timber utilization contracts, TUCs, for consideration and ratification by Parliament. By the time we complete this process, we will become the first African country to implement the European Union's requirement to trade in timber and the second in the world next to Indonesia, and it will be a major boost to the fight against deforestation and forest degradation. Ladies and gentlemen, we are also implementing the Joint Framework for Action, which we signed in 2017 with 36 cocoa and chocolate producing companies under the Cocoa and Forest Initiative, CFI, to halt deforestation and forest degradation in the cocoa value chain. The 2020 Annual Progress Report shows a lot of successes in this area. And through the Forest Investment Program, we are addressing the drivers of deforestation and forest degradation in the high forest and transitional zones to enhance carbon stocks and improve the livelihoods of rural communities. We are also aggressively implementing the Ghana REDD+ strategy to ensure that specific ecological zones of our country and their economic activities are linked to sources of climate finance based on their unique drivers of deforestation. Mr. President, in October 2019, you graciously launched the first program under the REDD+ strategy, the Ghana Cocoa Forest REDD+ program, to restore our lost forest cover in the high forest zone, increase cocoa yields, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And in February this year, the Vice President launched the Ghana Share Landscape Emission Reductions Project to, among others, increase the share tree population in the Savannah Ecological Zone, restore degraded lands, create small and medium enterprises for women in the share value chain. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, given that we have already lost over 80% of our forest cover since 1900, our second approach to the management of the forest and wildlife resources of our country is an aggressive afforestation and reforestation program to complement the work we are doing to halt deforestation. Between 2017 and 2021, a total of 547,891.7 hectares of degraded forest lands were cultivated under the Ghana Forest Plantation Strategy through initiatives such as the Youth in Afforestation Program, the Modified Tonga System, private sector plantation, and donor-funded plantation. This is far in excess of the 157,300 hectares of forest cultivated between 1963 and 2016, a whooping period of 53 years. In addition to the above, the Forestry Commission has developed 87 hectares of rosewood plantation in 8 forest districts, namely Tamale, Bupe, Bole, Yendi, Kintampo, Sunyane, Ofinso, and Nkawie, as part of measures to prevent the extinction of this precious wood species. The Forest Plantation Development Fund, on its part, has cultivated some 407 hectares of forest in the Ashanti, Bono, Eastern, Oti, and Volta regions. The fund is also supporting the protection of river bodies. River Dae. Under the Forest Investment Program, we have secured a $7 million World Bank loan to support private investment in forest plantation. Some 85,000 hectares of forest will be planted under this scheme. In October last year, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome the government chair. Mr. President, under the Forest Investment Program, we have secured a $7 million World Bank loan to support private investment in forest plantation. Some 85,000 hectares of forest will be planted under this scheme. In October last year, Mr. President launched the National Alternative Employment and Livelihood Program, which, among others, seeks to reclaim degraded mine lands and return them to viable agricultural lands. And under the Ghana Landscape Restoration and Small-Scale Mining Project, we are pursuing further reclamation efforts to add green cover and provide employment and income for local communities. Ladies and gentlemen, and to seal the future of our country's forest cover, last year, Mr. President launched the Green Ghana Project to create enhanced national awareness of the necessity for collective action towards restoration of degraded landscapes in the country, inculcate values of planting and nurturing of trees in the youth, mitigate climate change, and beautify our communities and environment. President Akufo-Addo led us on this maiden occasion to plant over 7 million trees. And this morning, the President is here again to kickstart today's nationwide tree planting exercise and lead us to plant at least 20 million trees, 10 million of which will be planted in forest reserves, and the remaining 10 million in off-forest reserves, including watersheds, boundaries, office compounds, and sites within communities such as parks, roadsides, homes, farmsteads, churches, mosques, schools, and other significant areas. Given the very ambitious nature of our target, we have had to mobilize 20 million seedlings, distribute them, get them planted, and develop a framework to nurture them to maturity. I want to thank the National Planning Committee, chaired by my able Deputy Minister, Honorable Benito Owusubio, the Forestry Commission, led by its dependable Chief Executive Officer, Mr. John Alote, the Ghana Armed Forces, Zoom Lion Company Limited, and all those who helped us to reach this far. Ladies and gentlemen, since 2018, we have planted 123.2 hectares of the Achimota forest, which is largely degraded, through the Youth in Afforestation program to ensure that we bring the forest to the status of its name. On the Green Ghana Day last year, the diplomatic community planted a number of trees there. And today, after witnessing Mr. President's planting, I'll be joining the British High Commission and other citizens of the United Kingdom to plant in the forest in commemoration of the Platinum Jubilee of the Ascension of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. We intend to transform the Achimota forest to the likes of Hyde Park in London and Central Park in New York, so that Ghanaians can have a true forest enclave in their capital city. Mr. President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the many years of inaction has made the urgency of tree planting more important now than ever. The success of this year's exercise is very crucial to sustainability of our planet and the future we bequeath to future generations. Let me conclude, ladies and gentlemen, by referring to the profound words of our outstanding president at the 26th session of the Conference of Parties, COP26, of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, held in Glasgow in November 2021, when he said, and I quote, "There is an urgent need to restore our forest resources as much as possible to their original state. We do not have tomorrow and the day after tomorrow to do this, and that is why we are acting now." End quote. Let us therefore join hands together and build a greener future. Green Ghana, let's go planting. I thank you for your attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Ghana's Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Samuel Abu-Jinapor. Thank you ever so much for that warm note of welcome and for articulating the importance of this year's exercise. We receive with joy the presence of Ghana's Minister for Information, the Honorable Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah. Please welcome him warmly. The Chair of the Green Ghana Project and the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources joins us, the Honorable Benito Owusu-Bio MP. Please, a round of applause. But our joy is made complete by the presence of the Government Chair, His Royal Majesty Nite Takitru II. Please welcome him warmly with a round of applause. Ni, we welcome you ever so warmly. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the gift of this morning's occasion, the President of our Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
The Anglican Bishop of Accra, the Chairman of the Church of Pentecost, Greater Accra Regional Minister and Member of Parliament for Ayawaso Central, Minister for Lands and Natural Resources and Member of Parliament for Damago, the Minister for Local Government, Decentralization, Rural Development and Member of Parliament for Okre, Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, the Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, and Member of Parliament for Sefirioso, Minister for Information and Member of Parliament for Ofuase Ayeribi, the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources and Chairman of the Green Ghana Project, the Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission, members of the Diplomatic Corps, NIGA, Nime, Name, fellow Ghanaians, ladies and gentlemen. A year ago, Ghanaians from all walks of life came together to plant trees across the country, marking the maiden edition of Green Ghana Day. We set for ourselves a target of planting some 5 million trees. In fact, in the end, we planted some 7 million trees, 80% of which have survived and are doing very well. I want to use this opportunity once again to thank you all, my fellow Ghanaians, and everyone who contributed to the success of that program. Happily, Green Ghana Day has no political party coloration, as we all agree that we must leave generations unborn, no matter their political affiliation, with a greener, sustainable future. Ladies and gentlemen, this year our target is to plant at least 20 million trees. Even though 20 million may sound like a lot, it is nowhere near what we have lost over the years. Trees, and indeed forests, are necessary for our own survival and that of our planet. They furnish us with water, food, and oxygen, and they mitigate climate change to provide us with a livable climate. They prevent erosion, protect our water bodies from siltation and drying up, serve as sources of medicine, make available habitats for wildlife and microorganisms, constitute windbreaks, regulate atmospheric temperature and climate change, give us clean air for good health, and offer sources of livelihoods for many of our people. Globally, some 1.6 billion people depend on forests for their livelihoods. And in Ghana, some 85% of the population rely on forest resources for subsistence to satisfy their socio-cultural needs. Despite their importance to our existence, our forests are depleting at an alarming rate. Some 80 years ago, half of the Earth's surface was covered by forests. Today, with an estimated forest area of 4 billion hectares, forests cover less than 30% of the world's surface. In the last 3 decades alone, the world has lost 1,037,846,602 acres of forest, more than 10% of the current total forest area. More troubling is the current data, which shows that globally, we're losing 150 acres of rainforest every single minute, 200,000 acres a day, and 79 million acres a year. And this is just rainforest. Here in Ghana, we've lost some 100,000 acres of natural forest in the last decade alone. Our timber industry, which generated jobs for thousands of people, is suffering. The odum, wawa, mahogany, sapele, and several other wood species of the timber industry are also depleting at an alarming rate. Apart from their economic value, forests are home to most of the Earth's terrestrial biodiversity, and crucial to our fight against climate change. The climate crisis is said to be reaching a tipping point. We are advised by the experts and the teachings of the Paris Agreement of COP21 to keep global temperatures below 1.5 degrees Celsius in order to avoid the worst impacts of climate change. But at the current rate, global warming is projected to reach 3.2 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. But the experts also tell us that one of the surest ways of dealing with the climate crisis is through the preservation and development of forests and other nature-based solutions. As it is said, the lungs of the earth, forests play a crucial role in the sustainability of our planet and our life on earth by absorbing carbon dioxide and contributing to emission reduction. That is why in 2017, we joined several leading cocoa and chocolate producing companies and countries to sign the Cocoa and Forest Initiative Statement of Intent in London, where we undertook to halt deforestation and forest degradation in the cocoa value chain in Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire, the world's two biggest cocoa producing countries. Indeed, our commitment goes beyond halting deforestation in the cocoa value chain, but goes also to halting deforestation and forest degradation generally, is articulated by the dynamic, hard-working Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Samuel A. Jinapor, Member of Parliament for Damango. We are embarked on an aggressive afforestation and reforestation program aimed at restoring our lost forest cover and halting the current rate of deforestation. It is in this spirit that I call on each and every one of you, whether you are a Ghanaian or not, insofar as you are in Ghana, to join us today to plant at least 20 million trees. I call on members of parliament, members of corporate Ghana, traditional leaders, entrepreneurs, teachers, nurses, doctors, lawyers, judges, workers, farmers, bankers, students, religious leaders, traders, civil servants, public servants, members of the diplomatic corps, and indeed, every person living in Ghana, as well as those visiting Ghana on Green Ghana Day, to help us plant these trees. Together, let us build a greener future for current and future generations of Ghanaians.
Plant massively in various locations, and by the close of the day, we can give a good account of trees planted. I thank you all for honoring our invitation, and may God bless us all. Green Ghana, let's go planting.
We're grateful to you, our indefatigable Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources and the Chair of the Green Ghana Project, the Honorable Benito Owusu-Bio. Mr. President, Honorable Ministers of State, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at the end of this event, the President, in the company of the Minister, will proceed to plant the ceremonial tree, and thereafter we shall have other identifiable groups and individuals do same. To this end, I can only invoke the blessings of God Almighty on this great day, the Green Ghana Day, on the Green Ghana Project, on you, the President of the Republic, for this great vision, and upon us all in our homeland Ghana, that Ghana may be great, strong, and green. Shall we please rise for the anthem? Green Ghana Day. Green Ghana Day. Green Ghana Day.
One recognition because another buy a crab.
Okay, bring it down. Bring it down. It is true. It is true. And then what's it? Now that the President of the Republic has planted the ceremonial tree, we shall invite the Minister, together with the Regional Minister, the Head of the Civil Service, the Anglican Bishop, the Minister for Information, Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, the Minister for Environment, our sponsors, Access Bank, the FBN Bank, the Church of Pentecost, no!
set is 20 million trees for the year 2022. The aim is to deal with deforestation and ensure that we are able to green Ghana for the better. Let me engage some of the very important personalities who are here to observe the day and to also carry with them some of the seedlings to go to their various areas and plant trees. The boss of the National Development Planning Commission and then Honorable Yao Frimpong, Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture, are here with me, and I want to engage them more. Let me start with you from the perspective of the NDPC. How crucial is this exercise in terms of our development planning?
This is very, very important, and as you've said, crucial, in the sense that we at NDPC have the responsibility to make sure that our resources are protected and even the usage is also optimized. So here this morning, I was so glad that the President himself came here, led the minister to come and launch this process. 20,000 trees, it's no joke. And we're going to go ahead to do that. Last year we took part in doing this, and I've gone around almost all the regions thereafter, and I've seen these trees coming up, which makes the difference. It's not just planting, but planting and nurturing, and make sure that from seedlings they become trees. And I'm so glad. That's why this morning I joined this process. I came here with all my staff. So just after this launching, we're also going to the Nationalism Park to go and do the planting over there. And I'm sure that in all the rural areas, in all the forest areas, in all the savanna areas, this should go on. For National Development Planning Commission, we want this to become part of our national calendar, to be sustained. And so, not just for adults, but even for school children, so that as they are young, we cut them very young, we nurture them so that tree planting becomes a character that we can exercise. And not just the planting, but also nurturing them to grow to become trees.
We have been told that as a country we've lost 80% of our forest cover. Will you describe it as we being irresponsible? Is it negligence, or is it the fact that we have simply been just interested in depleting our forest?
I think there were a lot of things which were pulled together to grow this forest and to maintain them. The cultural element, the administrative element, the physical element, and more so, and most crucial, the relevance to the people of this country. We've seen it now. We are losing our rivers, we are losing our lands due to erosion, and the climate change is catching up with us. The seasons and the weather pattern is even changing. And all these are things which we can say that we have been responsible for that. It's good that we have seen it, we're turning around, and definitely, given what we've started now, we're sure that we're going to make a lot of difference. And the leadership which have been provided for this, the President himself, the Minister for Lands and Mineral Resources, and all natural resources, and all the other leaders who have been here this morning, indicates that it is not just we are taking it serious, but it's becoming crucial and a more important element which is being prioritized for our national development. For us who are at the drawing table, what we can say is that we have prioritized this. That is why we are here today. Because when we lose the forest, definitely we will lose the nation.
So I'm sure you'll be planting trees yourself today?
Yes, I'm going to dirty my hands and do it. Because I'm doing it not for myself, but also for posterity and the future, and for the love of this country and the initiative which has been undertaken. So from here, I'm walking straight to the Nationalism Park with my whole staff of 80 of us to continue with the process, which has been ignited by our President and the Minister.
Thank you very much, sir. And that's the Director General of the National Development Planning Commission. He is leaving us because they also have an assignment to plant more trees. But let's talk to people who are directly affected by deforestation. And Mr. Honorable Yao Frimpong is a Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture. So we'll talk about the planting, the significance of today's exercise. We'll look at the impact of deforestation on our forest cover, on our agriculture, and its major impact on food security in the country. So first, let me start with you, Honorable Yao Frimpong. Last year we planted, the target was 5 million. According to the President, we ended up planting 7 million. And 80% of the trees have survived, which is a very good indication. This year the target is 20 million, very ambitious one, and people are questioning whether we'll be able to realize it. How important and crucial is planting to address the issue of deforestation?
Yeah, thank you so much. Whoever conceived this idea of Green Ghana Day, that person must be a prophet. Because, you see, as the president was speaking, you heard him, the rate of depletion of our forest cover is having a direct impact on agriculture. Those of us at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture have taken keen interest in this thing because we think that in times past, when there was forest, we didn't need much fertilizers. Recently fertilizers have become topical because of climate change. And the climate change has also affected even the nature of the soil that we have. Our forest cover is depleting so much. So whoever conceived that idea that we should bring back our forest is somebody that posterity will judge him in the right direction. We are here, we are saying that if the 7 million, 80% of the 7 million trees that were planted last year survived, this year the 20 million, I'm sure people are saying it's an ambitious target, but it is achievable. It's a target that is achievable. It's achievable because, this is the rainy season. And if you plant a tree around this time, you have the June rains, July rains, and some August drizzle. And then the second part of the year, we are going to have the September, October rains and November rains. Certainly, about 80% of these 20 million will survive. And this thing is happening simultaneously in all our regions. And once they are happening in all our regions, then it means in the districts, it means the 20 million trees that we planting, we are going to achieve it because it's going to be a continuous process between now and maybe August, September. The trees have been nursed, so they are there. And once they are there and people are eager to plant them, we are going to ensure that they plant them. And this year, significantly, there are what we call the economic trees, the mangoes, and then the citrus trees. These are trees that when you plant them today, in about 3 years' time, you begin to pluck them. And a lot of people express interest in planting some of these trees. And that's how come the interest is so high. And I'm sure by the end of this exercise, all the 20 million trees are going to be planted. And it's going to be good for agriculture because we want to bring back the forest to save our agricultural land that is being depleted at a very fast rate.
Now, let's talk about impacts of the continual depletion of our forests. I mean, for example, from a personal note, my late father was a timber merchant back then. So I grew up knowing Odum, Wawa, mahogany, and the rest. And I also realized that at some point during the business, when it was difficult to come by these commercial trees, especially Odum, I realized the impact it had on his sawmill and also the workforce. At some point, over 200 workers, and then they started going off one after the other until eventually there was no commercial trees, and then the timber industry folded up. And I'm sure that if you go to Kumasi right now, where the Kumasi Mall is, it used to be a major timber, entity, but because of the absence of trees, those, businesses have folded, and thousands of people lost their lives. But how it impacts on the agricultural sector? Can you walk us through the impact we are likely to face if we don't speed up the replantation of our forest cover?
Yes, you see, in the first place, I initially indicated that we didn't need fertilizers when we had forests. That's number one. And number two, you see, the climate change, the effect of climate change is having a big toll on agriculture, where we cannot even predict the pattern of rainfall. In those days, we used to predict that May, June, July, we're going to have very good rainfall. So people plant in May, April, May, and then they have the good rains in June, July, and then we have good harvest in August, September. But it's no longer the case. It is all because the forest has been depleted. And because we cannot do a lot of irrigation agriculture in this country, we rely on the climate to favor us. How does that happen? It happens only when we have very good forest cover. So the impact of the depletion of the forest cover on agriculture is so huge The amount of money that we spend in buying fertilizers, look, those monies could have been used elsewhere to develop our country if we had the forest cover. That is very crucial. And then again, at the moment, the yield per acre, if you don't apply these fertilizers, has dwindled so much because the nutrition in the soil is gone because of the depletion of the forest cover. And then the economic trees, see, some of the trees themselves are fertilizers. As they fall down and people cultivate on those lands, they create a very good nutritional base for the plants to do well. Now they are not there.
Are we in any form of, concern for food security? I mean, the trees we are planting today will take years to germinate and then become, full-blown trees. Yeah, but presently, we've lost 80% of our forest cover. Exactly. Are we in any danger in terms of food security?
We are struggling, but we are not in danger. No, we are struggling.
What does it mean?
What it means is that we need to spend so much money to buy fertilizers so we can have the crops do well, so we can have good harvest to feed our people. Ordinarily, that shouldn't have been the case. So that's why I said we are struggling, but we don't have that kind of situation. Where 1983, the only time in the history of this country that I witnessed, and I am close to 60 years, that we had food crisis in this country was 1983. Bushfires all over the place. There was some long droughts. But since that time, we've not had serious food insecurity in this country. And with this one, we see we need to save the future. Those of us, this generation, who are alive today, we need to plant these trees to save the future so that they will not be telling this story that we are telling right now. In the future, when the forest comes back, agriculture is going to be saved because we are not going to spend so much money to import fertilizers. And moreover, because you see, population is increasing, and naturally we will need the forest products, that's the wood products, for a lot of things. Now we import a lot of our timber and the plywoods and everything from outside. It used to be the reverse in times past. So what has happened? This one in 15, 20 years time will come back, that Ghana will also become a net exporter of timber products, which, as you were alluding to earlier, in Kumasi, a lot of places in Asokwa area, was all sawmills. Yeah, sawmills. But where are we today? I mean, Bibiani Lumber and Lodging. I remember very well. I was a little kid. They were in Kumasi, Asokwa area there. A lot of timber. In my constituency, Mansoy Dubia constituency, we have about 3 forest reserves. If you go there right now, all those reserves are depleted. So we need to plant back these trees so we can have our forest cover. We can revive agriculture without much fertilizers. And then we can also have our access to our timber and timber products for export and for our own need, because population is increasing, the middle income is growing, they will need more of development, and we need wood. So what we are doing is a multifaceted approach for development, as the NDPC boss said. If we plant a lot of trees today, in 15, 20 years' time, it's not only going to be agriculture, but a whole lot of trees, especially with climate change. We will be saved. If you go to the Savannah zone, where we have the transitional zone, the good thing about Ghana is that is the zone that cashew does so well. And they are forming a forest cover there right now. So the advancement of the Sahara towards the forest belt is being halted now because of trees. So it is good that we plant these trees. That's why this exercise is so important, so crucial for every Ghanaian.
I know the Ministry of Food and Agriculture is neck deep into this because we have extension officers everywhere, so getting the seedlings to them won't be a problem.
Exactly. They are spearheading this in all the 262 MMDAs, and that is good for us.
Thank you very much. Mr. Yao Frimpong is a Deputy Food and Agricultural Minister. So we'll wrap it here at the Ifwa Sutherland Children's Park. As you heard from the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, apart from, spearheading the planting of trees to mark the Green Ghana Day, they are also doing a lot to protect our forests. Just some few minutes ago, we announced a ban on rosewood. He actually strengthened the ban on rosewood and, gave the forestry commission some new directives in terms of timber logging and all those issues. I'm sure that in the minutes and hours in subsequent bulletins, we'll be going through some of those issues. But the target here is 20 million trees for today and the days to follow. Last year was 5 million. They ended up planting 7 million. 80 of them survived. The target this year is 20 million. And the aim is to replenish our lost forest cover, which currently stands at 80%, which is really not good if you ask me. The impact of it on climate change, on food security is beyond our understanding. That's the more reason why this Green Ghana initiative has been rolled out. So back to you, Benjamin and Benny's in studio, and I'm sure that we'll have a lot to talk about as you move on the national tree planting exercise.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Elton Brobe, there, bringing us the interviews after the particular tree planting exercise by President Akufo-Addo to kickstart the national exercise. So our theme is mobilizing for a greener future. As you heard him say, 80% of our forest cover has been depleted over time. There are efforts, and one of them is this Green Ghana project to ensure that the story changes in the future. I've still got Yasmin Helwani with me. She is CEO of Green Butterfly. Earlier, we were talking about this project by government, also discussing other activities that appear to be counterproductive to this particular one. And she was sharing her thoughts with us, really passionate about greening Ghana. Yasmin, if you can hear me, we heard the president speak there. We also heard from one of our interviewees about the success rate of last year's tree planting. According to him, 80% of the trees have survived and are doing well. But I don't know what you make of our aftercare when the trees have been planted. I know the ministry, that's the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry, started an initiative after the tree planting. It was Visit a Tree. We don't know how many people were able to visit a tree, but just let me know from your side what you think or how you will rate our aftercare for these trees.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank our leadership for the, lovely speeches that they made this morning. I've listened to all the speeches that were made. Very, very nice. And of course, easier said than done. So I wish them all the best with the initiatives that they are, putting forward. In answer to your question, I personally, in my view, so I'm not speaking for anyone else here, have noticed that we do need more of the aftercare in, our work. But then let's come back. Let's not go too far before we actually think of the basics. Now, as your other guest rightly said, it's probably better to plant a tree closer to you, in your community, around your home, or in a park close to you. Now, when I listen to the speeches, I'm hearing references to places outside Accra. I'm hearing about foresting places, in other regions. And I haven't exactly heard, they are standing on the Efua Sutherland Park right now. I don't know if any of us has recently been to the Efua Sutherland Park to see the state of the park. I mean, that place would probably need some trees. I mean, it would be nice if the planting actually started there this morning. Anyway, when it comes to aftercare, I think we could really step up our game by decentralizing the tree planting process. We don't need to have people taking transport to go to far places to go and plant trees. Let me use myself as an example. When the Ramsar site was planted last year, I live in the Eastern region, and I was called to come and participate in Sakumono, okay? So I went, obviously, because I'm very interested in how many people can go even from Jowlu to Sakumono or from Osu to Sakumono to go and help plant in Sakumono. It is not sustainable. We need to decentralize these processes.
But Yasmin, I'm sorry to interject. We know that the free seedlings are available across the country at various forestry commission.
Across the country, be careful with that, because across the country, where
yes, and that's where I'm coming to just a minute. So if you go to the forestry commission at your district office or designated points nationwide, for example, last year we had the Church of Pentecost, you know, jumping on board. Some schools and organizations, I remember last year when we covered it, we had schools and organizations being a part of the process. So yes, we are told you can go to your district office or you can pick it at Vantage Points. Here at Joy FM, there were seedlings here last year for people to come and pick. We contacted the Forestry Commission. This year we haven't had any seedlings. Maybe in the coming days we will. But I know that, I mean, I get your point, but I'm just saying that, yes, there is some effort to decentralize it. And we've done stories where people were able to access seedlings across the country. Also,
that is wonderful. That is wonderful. But before you continue, I want to talk about the price of even taking a trotro from Osu to Jowlu or from Osu to, 37 to go and pick up a seedling. So yes, Forestry Commission offices, you can go there and all of that. Do you know how I struggled to get trees last year? I had them privately given to me. So people say things. There was this WhatsApp message going around. We could call a certain number to go and collect trees. We called, nobody. I mean, we did everything possible to reach people to help us get trees. So if we, the ones who even have cars to drive and who are able to move easily, cannot even really get ourselves properly organized, what about the people who have to actually take 20 cedis and 30 cedis for transport to go? And do you think they will really make that effort? I think we need to work on planting seeds in the minds of our people rather than giving them fish. Let's give them the tools to fish with. It's not that difficult to plant a tree. You don't need Forestry Commission to plant a tree. We need education. We need people to understand what they need to do to green their immediate environment. And coming back to what a gentleman said about parks and, the forest and all of that, why don't we create more parks in our communities? Parks and gardens are doing a great job trying to encourage people to grow flowers in their homes, grow plants, and they actually are encouraging us to be green and have more parks. So if you want to know how to adopt a green space, you can actually do that. Publicly, as a group, you can pick up a space and help preserve the space, plant more, and sustain our ecology.
So you were going back to the issue of aftercare, and we are told, there was a press and we are told that about 80 to 85% of the trees that we planted have survived. As somebody within the space, would you say that is an expected success rate, 85% of over 5 million trees, or we could have done something to up the percentage a bit?
No, I think 85% is a fantastic number, actually. I think 85% survival rate, and that is where we live. This is the blessing. You just look behind me. I have trees here over 60 years old that don't even need you to come and water them. They are naturally existing. They are holding water underground. They are preventing landslides and flooding. These are the things. So the aftercare issue, yes, we need to do the aftercare, but who is doing the aftercare? Who is providing us with the data? Who is telling us these things? Is it really 85%? It could be higher, it could be lower. Are we sure? Have they been all around to check all the trees that have been planted? It's impossible for our government officials to do this on their own. We need education, and we need the people to take charge of their immediate environment. So if you live in any particular community, you should be concerned with your particular community. Instead of running to go and plant a tree in Accra Central if you are living at Achimota or if you are living at Legon. So it is up to us to educate ourselves and to be able to support our government. Again, I'm going to come down to say that No country is built only by the government or only by the system. The citizens and the community will be the ones to build the country and to build our nation. So we are all in it together. We need to unite, we need to educate ourselves, and we need to work with our government. If they say this is really what they want to be doing, let's support them. But then again, please, to our government, we do not want double standards. Don't stand somewhere and tell us you're going to plant so many trees, yet you are robbing us of the very foundation, our forests that are already marked as forest reserves. That we will not be happy about. So we are begging our government, rescind Executive Instrument E144. Currently, we have eco-conscious citizens, we have Arusha Ghana, we have Youth Alliance for a Green Ghana, Sustainability Week. All these organizations are currently standing at the Achimota Forest. We are doing a surprise appearance. We are going to be showing our placards and the banners. We want Mr. Abujinapo to look at the messages as he passes by, to go and plant the tree in a place that is being declassified as a forest reserve. What an irony. Mr. Jinapo, please read all the messages along the way. And the British High Commissioner is also coming. Please pay attention to all the wonderful people standing and lining the streets and begging the president to rescind Executive Instrument 144. Save the Achimota Forest. Say no to the declassification of the Achimota Forest as a forest reserve.
Yasmin, in wrapping up my conversation to you, before we crossed over to the Air Force Sutherland Park, and I must also mention that a tree was planted there. You were wondering earlier.
One tree? One tree?
No, but I'm just saying, for the purposes of those who didn't watch, because you made a statement, and I would just like to say that a tree was planted there. We don't know if there's been a
Can I please clarify? Did you say one tree?
I didn't say one tree. I'm saying to you, Yasmin.
I'll be very interested to know how many trees were planted there today.
Yes, and so my colleague is on the ground. Elton Brobe is there. And so he'll be furnishing us with all the details. But at least what we saw on camera, we saw the president planting a tree. Okay. So that aside, before we crossed over there, Dr. Dixon Adumaku Kisi was with us, and I posed a question to him. While we are talking about protecting our forest reserves, there are in other advanced countries efforts to earmark or create new places or creating new reserves. I mean, designating those places as green areas in various communities. And I was trying to find out from him as a legislator what we can do in that regard. Look at Ebri, look at Abokobi, very green areas. But as you visit the place every day, you realize that the development's coming up and people are developing, people are building, they're receiving permits. But should we begin to look at, aside from having forest reserves, deciding that every community should have a certain hectare or acre of green space?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This question even already has its automatic answer without me opening my mouth. It is natural. We need to have spaces, not only even for conservation, which is the most important thing, but also for our children. I have 2 children who are privileged to be growing up in the arms of nature. They know what the plants are called. If they are having issues with their skin, they know what they can pick. Aloe vera if they burn themselves. And little things. We can educate our future generation into a better future. Okay, so in the communities, if we have parks, if we have green spaces that are earmarked, and I believe Dr. Kwame Nkrumah did such things when we first emerged as a state, as Ghana. We had so many green spaces and we had parks that are now being encroached on. So apart from the fact that we need to create these spaces, in fact, many of these spaces already existed for us over the years, and we are the ones who have destroyed these spaces. So in every community, it's important not even just to have a park, it's important to have eco activities like farming. We are living on the equator. We have sunlight all day long, all year round. We can grow crops. We can do so many things for ourselves. We need to wake up and bring development to our communities. And development starts with respecting nature.
I'm grateful that you could join us. Yasmin Helwani is
Thank you for having
CEO
me.
of Green Butterfly, and you can just tell from her utterances that she's very passionate about this Greening Ghana project. Yasmin, we will stay in touch, especially with that surprise protest you're pulling up on the Achimota stretch. It will be good to hear what the British High Commissioner has to say, and also if we could get a response from the Lands Minister on your call for the EI or the decision to declassify Achimota Forest rescinded. Thank you once again. Earlier we had Dr. Adomako Kisi, who is MP for Anyasu Trom and also a rep from the Save River Dai, Norbert Agbe Triku. It's now time to hear what you have to say. Let us know what's happening in your community. Do you see a decentralized Green Ghana project? Is it as loud in your community as it is here in the capital and other regional capitals? Let us know. Are you planting a tree yourself? Do you appreciate or understand the reason for which we are embarking on this project? Also, earlier we heard from Benjamin, who was speaking about leadership in this country, the good, the bad, and the ugly. What are your thoughts? We'll be back to take those shortly. Do stay.